Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone day going today? I hope everyone's having a great day because the more you know, the more you grow. So, what are we talking about today? Today is Thriving Thursday, where we are speaking to people who are thriving not only in their personal life, but in their business, and they are helping others thrive. So if you are here with me, go ahead, say, hey, how you doing? Hello, what's up in the comments so that I know you're here with me. Or if you are catching this replay, go ahead and hit hashtag replay. I hope everyone is having a great day. We have some amazing talent with us today. Let me tell you about who is our guest on today. Our guest, Paul McFarland, a father of two sons with 22 years as a master instructor of martial art. He owns and operates Ring Dragon Martial Arts, and he does more than just teach defense. He teaches how to build self-confidence. So let's give it up for Paul coming on the stage. Hello, Paul. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem. I am doing great. I'm excited that you are here with us today to share your knowledge. You know, martial arts is one of those things everybody dreams of doing, but they really don't know what is the real meaning behind it. But before we get into martial arts, please share a little bit about yourself and Ring Dragon.
Okay. Well, I am. I'll be 49 this summer. Shout out to all the Leos out there. I'll be in August. I'll be 49. So we're working on that chapter of life. I was born in Washington D.C. and grew up in the DMV area, in the Silver Spring area, and I currently live in Baltimore City.
Okay.
So yeah, I started training in martial arts under Dr. Philip Hill and Hill's Hitters in 1984. So I started there at the Silver Spring YMCA when I was a kid, and I've been doing this pretty much my whole life. There were a couple of little hiatuses, but by and large, this has been a life practice for me.
Right. Well, you've been a master instructor for 22 years. So I'm sure there's like so many years prior to that before you had to even get to that. And you said you were going to be how?
Yeah, I'm working on 50. We're about to be 49 this summer, so we're
Okay. So that's way before your 20s. You started this
Oh,
journey.
yeah. Yeah, I was 9 years old when I first started training, so it's been a long time. It's like I said, it's pretty much been my whole life.
Wow. That's a long time to be doing on a path of one thing. That's just a long time. So I'm sure you have so much knowledge to share with us.
You know, it,
Uh,
it,
Go
it's
ahead.
been an anchor too. Just during some more tumultuous times when you're able to look back, it was kind of an anchor. It was a mainstay to kind of keep me on my trajectory, at least keep me close to the path I'm supposed to be on. So I'm very thankful that I embarked on that journey.
So it installs some kind of discipline in you.
It definitely, I think I would say more so. It it gave me character blueprints and outlines. Like I started this because I wanted to be like Bruce Lee. And during that time, Sugar Ray Leonard, who's also from Maryland, he was in the throes of his career and stuff. So it was people like that I really looked up to and I aspired to be. Some of my first heroes, Harriet Tubman was one of my very first heroes, also from Maryland. Um, and I loved Spider-Man. I took gymnastics for 7 years to be like Spider-Man. So I was very much, it wasn't initially about the discipline. It was just, I aspired to be like my heroes. It wasn't enough to be a voyeur and look. I wanted to participate. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I think some of the discipline came later, but my inspiration in terms of who I wanted to model myself after, who I wanted to try to be like, it definitely gave me that.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a lot into the arts.
For sure, for sure. You know what? I used to draw on my parents' walls and my grandparents' walls. I'm sure they were not happy about that, but I've been an artist basically from the very beginning. So that was I think both of those things kind of go hand in hand. They they're both pursuits that you have to delve into yourself, and you have to concentrate on self-development in order to get better. Um, and I think team sports are great, but I think when you're doing individual pursuits, it forces you to be a little bit more accountable about progress because there's no one else. There's an point guard. You can't blame it on the quarterback. It's you. You're the team.
Right.
So in both of those arenas, I think it really does force introspection, and it forces that self development. So again, I'm really, and they're both self expressive. You really get your innermost thoughts and feelings out through both of those mediums.
Oh wow. So would you say that I know a team, there's certain skills that's being built with a team, but you're saying as an individual, it is more self-development.
You kind of have to. I mean, in a team, there's pros and cons, I think, to both of those situations because it's great to learn to work together as a team and be a cooperative effort. But it also, in those situations, especially when you're younger, it's easier to make someone else the scapegoat and place blame and shift accountability. When it's just you and you're out there in the tournament by yourself, you can't blame anybody. If it's just you in the ring, who can you blame? If you didn't train properly, you didn't eat properly, you didn't do what you were supposed to do to prepare, you can't put it on anybody else. It's on you.
Mm.
So I think in that way, I really do like it because again, it just forces introspective thought, and you have to kind of start to ask yourself the tougher questions. And if you want to get better, you're going to have to ask them honestly of yourself, and then answer them honestly of yourself. So I think in that way, it's great.
I like that. I like that. Um, So tell us about Ring Dragon Martial Arts. Tell us about your business. What is
Okay.
it that you teach? What is the age range that you work with? What is the value you are giving to your participants or clients? I don't know if you call them clients or anything, but we'd love to know how all that works together.
Okay. Well, I teach. I started when I studied under my teacher. It was non-traditional Tang Sudo. So Tang Sudo is a Korean martial arts. Most people are familiar with like Taekwondo. Tang Sudo is also from Korea. Um, I came up under a non-traditional program, and I've kind of I've kind of continued on with the non-traditional components. I boxed some, and I did some Muay Thai as well. I even actually did some training in Thailand some years back. So I've kind of taken the non-traditional thing even further. So the way that I teach, the the official Tang Sudo Federation would probably not recognize what I do as Tang Sudo, but I'm of the mindset, again, Bruce Lee was one of my first heroes in life. And I think we can get indoctrinated with um, just dogma and ideas that sometimes are antiquated. I think some ideas, they fit the time. Like, for example, you and I we're not writing letters back and forth. We're using the current technology to talk right now. We don't take a horse and a carriage to get to work. We actually drive a car. So I think the same things with martial arts, things adjust and acclimate to the times. And I'm very much a proponent of that line of thinking. Bruce Lee was that way, and he's why I ever started training in the first place. So I've really taken that and ran with it. So I do still consider it a Tang Sudo based program, but very non-traditional. One of our taglines is, martial arts from a boxing point of view. So in depending on the system and the teachers and that kind of thing, people take martial arts for different reasons. So I'm not a person that's going to judge uh, uh, or certainly not bash any other systems or the way that they do things. But for me personally, I really like the science of fighting and the science of martial arts. I like things that are based in physics, you know, inches and range and speed and height and mass and weight. I mean, things that are tangible, because I think using those things, it's easier for myself and a student to to actually take measure of themselves. It's easier to set benchmarks and measure progress if these things are based in more of a scientific sort of approach. So that's kind of the way that I do it. I teach children and adults. I usually start kids about the age of 6, just due to attention spans, especially little boys can be like goldfish with their attention spans. Their attention spans are really quick. So usually about the age of 6 and up is when I'll begin folks, but there's no real limit in terms of after that. It's basically just 6 and up. I teach Monday through Thursday. again, kids and teens and adults. So, um, there's something to provide everybody with this. I think every able-bodied person should explore martial arts because it's really an exploration of yourself. It's just giving you circumstances to find out things about yourself. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So, mhm.
I've always had an interest in it. I've never taken it before, but I have had an interest. I wanted to, but you said anybody can do it, so I guess it's never too late, huh?
It isn't. It really isn't. And you know what? I actually did one of my lives about this portion. I firmly believe that we still in society, we're still dealing with some of the remnants of old ideas, especially in the way that they impact girls and women, where I don't think girls and women are encouraged to lift weights and to be strong and to do martial arts or box and to fight and defend themselves. These things are considered not feminine or they're masculine things, when ultimately everybody's need for confidence and self-preservation, that's just a human thing. That has nothing to do with anything other than being alive and wanting to continue to be alive, you know?
Mm-hmm. So
So
it's
I
not. So martial arts is not about being strong. It.
not really, not really.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, there's always going to be somebody stronger than you. The guy, girl, gay, straight doesn't make a difference. Someone's going to be taller than you, or younger than you, or faster than you, or longer than you. That's just life. That's literally in any field of life. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Someone is going to have you in a particular category. They
Mhm.
may be a more eloquent writer, or maybe they have a deeper vocabulary, or they, whatever it is. It's about learning to use your car. I grew up playing spades. I'm sure you might play spades, but I grew up playing spades. You got to play your hand as best as you can, and that's really what martial arts is about: taking what you've been dealt and using it to the best of your ability. Um, because the strength thing, it's all relative. I mean, if you're the strongest person in the room, that's great until someone stronger walks in, and then who are you? So it
Mhm.
really, you really don't want to lean on the things that you already have. It's about developing the things that maybe you don't have. That's
Mhm.
that's that's really, that's an integral part of it, really. If you're to get good, you're addressing all aspects of yourself. And some things we can't change. I can't be 6'1", that's not gonna happen. But there are other aspects of myself I can, and so that's what it's about.
Right. So it sounds like, based on your description of what you're teaching, it's not really one. It's not in a category. You've kind of created your own category. Did I hear that right?
I mean, to a degree. I mean, I never want to put too much self-importance or be too lofty in any of those kinds of things. That's why I don't use terms like sensei or any of that. I'm just Paul. My teacher was Phil. He went by Phil. I am Paul. Um, but I do think the more you delve into whatever your area of interest, you're going to find nuances. You're going to find ways to be more efficient. And I think through that process, I've added some things. I've kind of created a little bit of a stew, as it were. It's like fusion cooking.
Uh-huh.
Um, there are aspects that are great about some Asian cooking and soul food, and there are some spots that do fusion cooking of those things. I mean, if it works, it works. That's
Uh-huh.
really what it's all about. If the flavor's good at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, and that's the way I try to teach.
Oh, you gotta come up with some catchy name for that. You gotta come up with some catchy name and blending those two together. That's kind of cool. And I think doing that also, you might even attract like more people because they know one way and they're like, so what is this other thing? People who are not into martial arts, it's a way
Yeah,
to maybe bring them in that way. So I
that's
like that.
That's what I'm hoping. I mean, I spent some years being a personal trainer too, so that's another component that I try to bring to the way that I train. And a lot of during those times, one of the ways I try to differentiate myself from some of the other trainers on staff was introducing some of this stuff to people who otherwise had never done any of it. There was a lot of stay-at-home moms that had young children, and they're working on during the day. They've never punched any mitts. They've never thrown any kicks before. But a lot of the clients that I worked with at the gym really loved the feeling of it. It's a stress reliever, so there's a cathartic aspect to being able to punch and kick, in a controlled, comfortable environment and whatnot. So I think I really am hoping that I can get more people to get interested, um, that otherwise have not tried it, or maybe you know I think everybody, to a degree, when you go to the movies or anything like that, we all sort of live vicariously through some of these heroes and these characters, seeing them on screen doing some of these things. And you know, I encourage everybody to give it a try. You don't know what you can do till you actually get out there and do it.
Right.
And nobody's going to be fantastic the very first day. Michael Jordan wasn't a great ball player the first day he picked up a ball.
He
You know
was.
that's not the way it works. So I certainly do hope that I can get more people to try it, especially in the times that we live in. Look, grocery prices alone make me want to plant something. So if you can get in there and blow off some steam and get a little stronger, it's just more fun than the gym, and it serves a practical purpose in terms of protecting yourself. So I really am hoping I can get more folks interested, because I think it's great for everybody.
So let me ask you this. As a person who has arthritis, is this something that you would suggest they can do, or this might be a little bit too much on their body?
I think all things are situational. So my mom, the mother that raised me, I was adopted, but the mother that raised me, she suffered from rheumatoid arthritis for many, many years. And it's a stress related condition. Different types of arthritis are different, but I know rheumatoid is stress related. And it's one of those things. My mother, unfortunately, was not, she would have been about 80 now. She definitely came from a generation where, and certainly her specific upbringing, I think her being prim and proper and ladylike, I don't think she was ever encouraged to swim or to be athletic or to do any of those kinds of things. And now that you say it, I really wish I was older at the time she was still with us to encourage her to try it. I think everything is situational, and you always listen to your body. Buddy, I can't right now. See, I told my kids, I can't right now. I'll talk to you in a little bit. I knew this was gonna happen. I closed. I knew. But I think you could. I think first and foremost, like most things, you would consult your doctor, talk to them, because people's stages and their condition, depending on where it is, are very different. If it's early on, from what I understand, the more use, the more like weightlifting and things that can offset bone density diseases and things, osteoporosis and such. It's really good actually to use the muscles and use the bones. But I'm not a doctor, so I would consult with them first. But I don't think that there should be any reason not to. If
Okay.
it's a stress related situation like my mother's was, it actually helps you alleviate stress, getting
Right.
off some of the tension and getting some of that stuff up out of your system. So I think it would have to be a benefit.
So y'all hear that out there? If you are interested in doing some martial arts, if you suffer from arthritis, which I do, that's why I asked that question. Make sure you consult your doctor first. He is not saying go out there and do it. Consult with your doctor first. But if you
Sure.
have done some martial arts before, drop in the comments what type of martial arts you've done or what you enjoy. Or if you even want to learn something, say, I want to learn. Just drop it in the comments so that we can share those experiences with you. Um, Paul, this is some great information. But I think I saw you on social media in the 30-day challenge with Sheila.
Yes.
How has that been for you?
You know what?
Real quick, I took the same class, so I want to hear what your experience was.
I want to use the word transformative, but honestly, I think really she just lit the fire and hold you accountable, but in an encouraging way. So there's some of the stuff that I think a lot of us have wanted to do, but for whatever reason, whether life is life and all of that, Michelle is saying, listen, I don't care unless you in ICU, you're gonna get on there and do your life. You just push yourself, and I think it's done that for me. It's really kind of reinvigorated my spirit in that regard. Being a single father, full-time single father, running my own business and stuff. Sometimes I was telling myself that I didn't have the energy at the time. And it's not really true. I think I was letting myself off the hook. Yeah, things are challenging, but look, I mean, so is martial arts. That didn't stop me from being challenged there. So in that way, and not only that, you know what? It's encouraging to meet other Black folks that are of the same mind. It's just a support system. It's encouraging. Just it's almost like being in a class, and everybody in your class is striving for something. You know what I mean? You're not
Mhm.
alone. You're not alone. When you feel like you're out here doing it alone, it can be I don't want to say defeating, but it's just you get a different type of energy and encouragement with knowing that other people are doing what you're doing, and we're all shooting for a thing. And then the networking and stuff, you're meeting people who do meeting people like yourself. I'm meeting people that are in these sort of parallel veins, and we're trying to accomplish very similar things in our own lives. And then, I think I haven't met anybody who didn't feel obligated to service our own communities as Black people in America. Also, so it's all just encouraging. It just gives me energy to to
Mhm.
to push harder. You know what I mean? And do more, reach for more.
Right, right. So you brought up community. How do
Mhm.
you see martial arts lining up with the community? What do you want to see come from the community?
There's a lot of violence, and the drug culture up here is it's sad. What I'm hoping, what I'm hoping to do, we're not even like you said, we don't even hope. What I'm going to do,
That's right.
um, I'm starting my nonprofit in 2024, and we are going to get funding to try to get more of this type of programming available to students and kids who need something in addition to their lives. Supplemental education, stuff that I'll tell you this: when I was still young and still feeling spicy about myself, um, I got into a lot less fights and a lot less trouble because I was fighting every week in class. Even when at the height of my training, I'm doing Taekwondo 3 times a week. I was boxing 3 times a week and doing Muay Thai twice a week. I've punched and kicked out. I don't want to get into a fight anywhere out in regular life when I'm fighting. I fight every week. Every week I'm fighting multiple people. And it just your energy usage, your focus, all of those things. A lot of the youth up here really, really need that. And I think, especially with men, I think I touched on this a little bit off air, but I think that one of the byproducts of a patriarchal society is that men have painted themselves into corners where you're painted into a corner. You're feeling like you have to live up to things that are actually kind of ridiculous, counterproductive, and dangerous. And that's why we see so many of our young men, dealing with gun violence and being incarcerated. And I want to provide an outlet for some of that same angst. I have no problem with anybody, Black or brown, in this country being angry because there are some things I think you should be angry about. But it's what we're doing with our energy that's where the issues come in. You can, in a constructive way, nobody's going to arrest you for being in a tournament. No one's going to arrest you for sparring. That's these are perfectly legal, safe, and constructive activities that still allow you to get some of those emotions out, whether you have dealt with dysfunction in your home or whatever the story is. We all have one, and you can get this stuff out in a constructive way. And I'm going to get some funding up here to provide that on a wider basis than I can do by myself. But if I have the
Okay.
funding to do it, I can definitely orchestrate some things, and that's the plan.
Right. So this is like being able to release without causing more damage to the community. You're actually healing yourself through all this.
Absolutely, and you get to live to be an older, wiser person. Um, in the heat of the moment, you may feel like you want to do something to somebody, um, but some decisions you can't take back.
Mm,
I have a cousin of mine, an older cousin of mine, and he's been incarcerated since he was 17 for a similar incident. And if we think back to when we were 17, a lot of the things we did were foolish. And
mhm,
I'm not by any means wanting to downplay someone, taking a life, but the decision making when you're a 17-year-old, it's worlds away from where you are when you're 35 and when you're 45. It's a totally different, you're a different human being. And
mhm,
I really want to try to give young people the opportunity to make better choices, ones that at least won't impact the rest of your life in a negative way. And if
mm,
I can give you activities, um, if you're focusing on participating in big tournaments, then that means you're training and you're not hanging out on the corner. You're not getting into stuff that if you got buddies that aren't doing anything constructive, you're not with them because you're at the gym, you're training. You're running, you're at the track, you're monitoring your stuff, you're shooting for something specific, as opposed to just allowing the world to just take you wherever it's going to take you.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So let me ask you this. Other than someone joining martial arts
Mhm.
and focusing on tournaments, what if they're joining martial arts? How does that affect their lives outside of martial arts as far as their development and growth?
I mean, I think it starts to create that level of introspective awareness across the board. So even let's just say something like an argument with your spouse. You start to look at yourself. You're going to ask yourself questions. All right, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And if you're being honest, you start to do that self inventory, and that applies. It can apply at your job. You didn't get the promotion, or whatever it is that you're striving for in life. It allows you to set your goals and then start training for them, with the expectation that you can train to get to a place. You don't start out with a black belt, you start with a white belt. And in our program, there's like 10 different levels you have to get to. So it's already understood innately that you have to level up incrementally and build yourself up and train towards a goal. And
Mhm.
there are several goals along the way. I think it allows you to start applying that stuff to your life in general, like virtually everything. If you want to just if you want to lose a little weight, or you want to I remember when I first started running to supplement my training. At first I could only do like a half a mile, and I built myself up to 5 miles. And you take it upon yourself to understand that, all right, where I am today is not necessarily where I'm going to be tomorrow or next year or the year after. And if the idea is that your development really never ends in life. You
Mhm.
should be trying to learn something and become a better version of yourself every single day, as long as you're here.
Right.
And I think martial arts allows you to do that because it's really one and the same. Martial arts is life. It really is. It is a small little encapsulation of what life actually is. So then you can concentrate on this teeny little area, but really it's applicable to everything because it's just like life. It's you, and it's you dealing with other people.
Right. Let's go ahead and say hello to Miss Sheila. She is joining us
Oh
right
wow!
now.
Oh wow!
Miss Sheila's on here. Willie was on here. I'm not sure if he's still on here, but hello. Thank you for joining us. And she said, "Let's go." But let me ask you one more question about the effects of martial arts in our development. And this
Sure.
goes, we talked, you share about it for an adult, but what
Mhm.
about children? And when you're going for these inner city kids or kids in certain environments, they're
Mhm.
not striving in school already because they're out there and they're angry, they're mad, they're whatever they're doing, school is not on their mind.
Right.
Does this kind of help them kind of refocus into education and taking the rules that you were saying? As an adult, we understand that, but
Right.
as children, they don't quite understand that yet. So does this have a natural effect on children? If anyone has children who are struggling, maybe martial art might be a way to take them, not to make them a martial art instructor, but maybe to
Right.
get them some focus. Tell me about
I,
children in martial arts.
I think success breeds success, and this gives you again these sort of incremental but measurable, tangible successes that you can strive for. And the more you start to see, you know what, I can do things. I can when I apply myself, I can do. At first, I could only do 5 push-ups, and now I can do 10. And each belt level, I actually require you to be able to do X amount of push-ups or X amount of sit-ups. So you're striving as you continue to knock down goals. Even when you're little, you may not be looking at it like this, but you start to feel more capable because you are actually doing things. Um, and if there is angst and pent up aggression and anger, you're able to get those things out. It's also humbling too that you'll realize that sometimes violence isn't really the answer because there's somebody that can give you some humble pie too. So you start to think, all right, maybe there's a more constructive way to do this. Um,
Mhm.
but I also, as much as I can, this is why I like to keep my classes small so that I don't really have to deal with um, appeasing appeasing some. There are. I've dealt with helicopter parents in the past, and I've dealt with folks that aren't necessarily concerned about the plight of Black and brown people, for example. But I'm in Baltimore City, where the vast majority of my students are Black. So I get to interject things that are kind of specific to our experience, and I'm trying to. I call it planting seeds. You don't get corn tomorrow. You don't put seed in the ground and go get some corn tomorrow. But I want these ideas to start to germinate in their minds that will sort of help play out in their regular lives. When we talk about accountability, like I don't. One of the terms I like to use, and I use this with my own kids. I talk about honest work. So, and that's a fine line. You can BS me if you want to, but it's really only you're doing that to yourself. This
Mhm.
is one of the few things in life that you get a 100% ROI. You're going to get complete return on your investment when you start exercising and delving into yourself, giving yourself something. I tell them all the time, give future you a gift from the past. Right now, you're in the past.
Sure.
Give future you something. And right now, that's what you're doing. So if you're going to try to, when I'm not looking, not really do your push-ups, you're not doing anything but messing with future you. You're not doing it to me. My black belt is here already. Um,
Mhm.
but I think in that way, if they just stick to it, because you're not going to get results overnight. And one of the problems that I think are obstacles that this generation, younger generations face is they get a lot of things way faster than we did. I remember when microwaves were new. So before that, I had to wait 20 minutes. If I wanted some soup, you got to wait till that heats up on the thing. My mother was famous for telling me to go look something up, and I had to go upstairs and look in the dictionary, or the Encyclopedia Britannica set or whatever it is, or the microfiche. You really had to do research, and you didn't get Google where you have everything, instantaneously. So I,
Mhm.
I do think one of the obstacles is their attention spans and their expectation of results is different than previous generations. So that's one of the challenges is stick to it, stay on course, and you will get to a place. Um, but I definitely don't give any cut cards. Like I want hard work here. I want the honest work. If you're trying your best. That I'm not a mind reader, but if you're giving me your best, you can't do any better than your best. The
Mhm.
best is the best. That's all you got. But give me that. It's
Mhm.
really not giving it to me. You're giving it to yourself. I'm just here like a Sherpa. I'm just leading you up the mountain. I'm not really doing the climbing. You're doing the climbing. Um,
Right.
so I think it's great for kids in that way if they stay the course.
Mhm.
Um,
So if a kid, basically, if a kid's coming to you and he's doing 5 push-ups, then he moved to 10 push-ups, and he's like,
mhm.
"Oh, I got this." Well, now
Yeah,
I can go and I can spell that word because I know with practice it gets better.
that's all that. No one who has ever been great started great. Nobody started
Right.
like that. You know,
Mhm.
uh, Floyd Mayweather or Muhammad Ali or whoever, everybody lost fights. Everybody had to train. They were not all in shape at first. And you can apply that to any scholar, any writer, anybody worth their salt in their game did not start. They started at the beginning. They were a white belt in their respective field, and that's the way life works. Um,
Mhm.
as siblings, as partners, I mean, really, any part of your life, we all start at the beginning. No one just comes
Mhm.
out awesome. And even if a person is vastly talented, that's still their beginning.
Mhm.
That's still where they start. That means they have that much more to go, even if they started a leg ahead of everybody. They're still at their ground floor. That means
Mhm.
their potential is that much greater than, but they still have to start at the beginning. So
Mhm.
I do think it's really good for kids to get that kind of encouragement and to get that emotional venting opportunity out where you get to get that stuff out. And the other thing is, I'm sorry, I get a little long-winded with this stuff. I'm passionate about my stuff here. Um, the venting is important, but you start to learn that your emotions they're not conducive to making quality decisions. You don't make good choices when you are heavily inflated with emotion. If you are
Mhm.
very sad or very angry, you're probably not going to make a good choice. So that applies to fighting too. You're not going to make good choices when you're angry. So it really sort of trains you to, I'm not saying ignore your emotions, but they have to be the co-pilot. They're not the pilot. They don't drive the car. You have to be the cerebral choices. That's really where it's. it teaches you to have to make those kinds of decisions and think about the facts and not so much how you feel at the time. Because your feelings are going to dissipate. You're not going to be angry forever. You get an argument with your spouse and you might feel a certain way, or you're angry driving through traffic. I get angry driving through traffic all the time. But by the time you get home, it's done. So you put a little distance between that. So again, it does allow them to start to deal with their emotions a little bit better, because the emotions don't help. They really don't help in those situations.
Mhm. So it sounds like this martial arts stuff is really grounding for people. Not only does it build your confidence, like you
Mhm.
said,
Mhm.
it helps you make decisions, and it also allows you to go be introspective with yourself so that you can make those decisions.
Absolutely.
So it's so nice to know that you can learn life lessons in different ways. And one of those ways is through martial arts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So a little birdie told me you're working on some things in the background. Go ahead, put it out there. Someone might hear it and be like, what was that guy's name? Paul
Yeah.
McFarland on the Way Philosophy Thriving Thursday. Let's look him up. So let
Yeah.
us know. Tell us what the little birdie told me.
So okay, so I am, and again, this is, and this is a good thing. This is all Miss Sheila's fault. No, but she really like lit a fire in me. So I'm working on a podcast called Basement Tigers, and basically it's going to delve into the perils of being black and fatherhood and just life in general. But I found, and this is just again my personal opinion, but I found that there's a lot of podcasts um, that are male oriented, that spend a lot of time focused on what I believe are the wrong things, and certainly speaking negatively far too often about women, black women specifically. So this will not be that. Um,
Mhm.
I think if you got to focus on solutions and not problems. If you focus on the problem, you're going to stay with the problem. So, but this is really, I think the focal point will be centered around fatherhood, but it's not going to be exclusively about fatherhood. So I'm intending to get that going really soon. I just finished designing the logo and stuff like that, so we're getting that working. Um, in 2024, I'm going to start my nonprofit. It's going to be called Good Hope Road, and that'll be using martial arts and art uh, to as violence preventatives in the city of Baltimore. And hopefully, if it works, then maybe those models can expand to other cities. But initially, those are the two things I'm really pressing on. Oh, and I do have a kids book that I'm working on, and this kids book is going to be. I wanted to make a digestible book for younger kids about what redlining is and how that has affected their lives. I teach an after school program at Sandtown here in Baltimore. And one of the classes, I found myself a little frustrated with the amount of progress we were making. And then I had to remember, you got to meet people where they are, not where you want them to be.
Mhm.
And so one of the classes, we just sat down and we talked, and I wanted to explain to them, have they even heard of redlining? Do you even know what redlining is? And I wanted to delve into why it's so important for you guys to take your own self-development seriously, because some of our circumstances, many of our circumstances were orchestrated. They are not happenstance. It's not by accident that certain tax brackets affect certain schools, and the amount of staff and I mean, some of these things have been designed this way. Um,
Mhm.
and so I was thinking after I went home from that class, like, there's a lot of kids who've never even heard of it. And Baltimore is one of the first cities, if not the first model city in this country for implementation of redlining. So one of the books I'm working on is going to explain exactly that, but to younger kids. So I want them to. We've got to have kids armed with the idea that there are people, and I'm not even going to necessarily make this about color or ethnicity or anything, because the fact remains there are people who have resources and are control of legislation and such, and affect our lives in a way that is negative and create circumstances for us that obviously are inherently dangerous for us. So I want them to understand that from a young age. It's
Mhm.
just like martial arts. If you don't understand what's going on, you're not going to be able to develop a technique to stop what's happening to you.
Mhm.
So just the defensive part is important. You have to understand the nature of a punch in order to block a punch. So it's the same thing with that book, and I want to arm some of these kids. Just start building your life, understanding The other thing is breaking some of these generational cyclical scenarios that we have. You arm kids with things that maybe your mother and grandfather did not know. Maybe they didn't even. Some of us are older and have never really even heard of these things. So perhaps you can even teach the people at your house, and you're only 10, 12 years old. So that's my goal anyway. That's the idea. So this year, 2024, is going to be a big year for me because I'm coming out stepping. I'm coming out stepping.
I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited, and I love where your vision is taking you. The nonprofit. Oh, I love the kids' book. You make sure you tell me when them books are, because I just got my first grandson, and so
Yeah,
I know I sound like a little country girl right now, but let me know when those books are ready. I would definitely love to purchase them. But
definitely.
when we get off of here, make sure to drop your websites or your links where you want people to join you or find you so that they
Okay.
can go ahead and find that. Drop it in the link in the comments on Facebook.
Okay.
Um, but do you have any last remarks you would like to leave us with, or anything else?
Um, one thing I'd ask that I'd learned from again Miss Sheila and teaching us on these lives. Um, I want to drop my socials for Ring Dragon. The main reason is this: it's not necessarily, and I've said this on some of the lives. You never know who just by doing a follow and a share, you might put somebody in line that's looking for me, and I'm looking for them, and just through the algorithms and those relationships a young person or even somebody older that's been always wanting to do this, we might find each other through that follow,
Mm-hmm.
through that click and that like and that share. So on Instagram, it's just at Ring Dragon, RINGDRAGON, no hyphens or spaces or any of that kind of jazz. On YouTube, it's Ring Dragon TV. On TikTok, Ring Dragon Martial Arts, and Facebook, Ring Dragon. So um, I would really appreciate that if you guys would give us a follow, because again, these kids are working hard. Some of these young adults are working hard, and you may actually help somebody else who's looking for me, and so where I'm looking for them, you may help us connect. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, so all you got to do is remember Ring Dragon, and the rest will fill in, whether you're on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. Did you say TikTok too?
Yeah, TikTok also. I
Yeah,
was late to the game on that one, but I was late for the game on that, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
TikTok. And you have some great things coming, so please follow him. Look out for his nonprofit, his books, and how he's going to make change in the community with his
Doing it.
message. So I want to thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation with you, Paul.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I was a little nervous when I got on here, but I'm a talker, so
Yes, and it was easy. It's lots of love. I'm so glad that you came on here. You have some comments in the comments. So when we get off here, you go on there, look on Facebook. You have some people saying something. And I'm sure more will come throughout the day. They're thanking us for sharing your information.
I appreciate it. I really
All right.
do.
All right. So just hang out backstage for a moment, and I'll be right with you. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. All right, thank you. Oh my God, wasn't that some great information? And remember what he says, give your future some of your past. So everything that you do today is going to affect your future. It's going to shape your path. So make sure whatever you do today has already 5 minutes ago is already your past. So whatever you do today, it is shaping your future. That was Paul McFarland. Make sure you go follow him at Dragon Ring, and watch for the wonderful things that's coming your way. If you ever want to be a guest on this show, Thriving Thursday, and come on and share your message, you can go to tinyurl.com backslash be a guest and wave in capital letters WAVE. That is tinyurl.com backslash be a guest capitalize wave, WAVE. I would love to have you on the show. I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope you got some valuable information. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Make sure you have a transformative day. Stay open to awareness and let the unknown come rolling in. I'll see you next Thursday. Bye.